The long-awaited Vatican report exposing how disgraced ex-U.S. Cardinal Theodore McCarrick climbed the rungs of power is expected to be released next week, according to Vatican sources. What is in the report? And there are new troubling details about that Vatican financial scandal. Joining me now with an update on all of this is National Catholic Register Rome correspondent Edward Pentin. Ed, thanks for being here. The Italian newspaper La Stampa is reporting that the lawyer for Cardinal Becciu, who was removed by Pope Francis as prefect for the Congregation of the Cause of Saints, after it was discovered that he had made questionable investments during his tenure as number 2 at the Vatican Secretariat of State, is saying that Pope Francis knew about that London property deal and endorsed the negotiations with an Italian financier, including his maximum fee of 20 million euros. What does this all mean if the Pope had knowledge and endorsed this risky investment?
Yes, well, this is something that's been suspected for a while, Raymond, that the Pope did know about these dealings. This latest revelation comes from actually Cardinal Becciu's former secretary, and it's been delivered through his lawyer, and it's a letter that's been sent to La Stampa. And in the letter, the lawyer explains how the Pope actually endorsed the need for negotiations with this Italian financier called Gianluigi Torzi, who was basically brought in to sort of help minimize the massive losses that the Vatican made on this London property deal. But he did so at a price, and the price was a maximum of 20 million euros was his fee. And that was apparently signed off by the Sostituto, Archbishop Edgar Pena-Parra, who basically runs the administration of the Vatican. But the Pope knew about it, according to this Monsignor Mauro Carlino, the former secretary to Cardinal Becciu. And so this opens up a whole new kind of revelations about how much the Pope knew and when he knew it. And it does seem as though he knew quite a lot, and he also knew about the London property deal, which, as I said earlier, did incur massive losses for the Vatican.
It is amazing. What else are you hearing about this story? What else should our audience know about it and the scope of what is now being uncovered?
Well, there's other aspects to this story. Apparently, the Vatican Bank was told about the London property deal, and that they refused to go through with it, or at least to give money to pay off some of the mortgage, which would have stemmed some of the losses. That's also something that Monsignor Carlino reveals in this letter, or rather his lawyer does. But another major news that came out today was also the fact that Pope Francis has he sent a letter to Cardinal Parolin, which has been published. It was sent on August the 25th, in which he requests that responsibility for the financial funds and real estate assets belonging to or put in charge by the Secretariat of State are now going to be moved away from the Secretariat of State. That includes the London property deal and all of those bad transactions, and moved to APSA, which is the dicastery for responsibility for real estate assets. In fact, people have wondered why the Secretariat of State was dealing with such property portfolios anyway, when they usually belong to APSA.
It's an unbelievable story. I've got to move on to this other, maybe even bigger story. The U.S. bishops are holding their annual meeting later this month, November 15th through 19th. There are reports that the McCarrick Report is due to come out next week. What are you expecting to be in that report? What are you hearing from people in Rome?
Well, yes, it seems to be clear that the report will come out next week. I've heard this from various sources now. It's likely to be between the 10th or the 12th, between the 10th and the 12th of November, and possibly, more probably, I think the 10th, because that's when a series of other news items are going to come out related to abuse, one related to the UK, and another with this trial of the former nuncio to France, who's going to go on trial on the 10th. And I think it may coincide with those. But yes, we don't know, of course, what's going to be in this document. It's going to be the fruit of all these investigations in New York and elsewhere, which the Vatican has taken charge of. But the hope is that it will give some idea of how McCarrick rose through the ranks and managed to to undertake a lot of the corruption that he did, but also more about the abuse that he is alleged or was found guilty of committing against seminarians and others. And so the hope is that it will reveal those and the contacts that he had.
Ed, I only have about 30 seconds here. Do you think it will name the bishops who were responsible for McCarrick's rise? And we should remind everybody, Archbishop Vigano contended that the Pope knew about the charges against McCarrick. Do you think some explanation of this will be included?
I think it may be. I think people will be disappointed if names aren't named, and so I think they'll be aware of that, and I think many will be hoping that those names will be in it. But we don't really know. It's all been kept very secret, so we're just going to have to wait and see next week what the report reveals.
Ed Pentin, thanks for staying on top of all this news for us in Rome, and you can read more of Ed's great work at the National Catholic Register. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Raymond.